Good morning. I don't know how many of you got a holiday weekend, but I didn't because I am an entrepreneur and I work from home, and every day is kind of a work day. However, I get to give myself days off, or hours off, or mornings off whenever I need it. So it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. But my husband, he did get a holiday yesterday, and so it was really nice. And I figured, what better time to ask people about their jobs, right? What better time than when they're not having to go to work? Because sometimes at work, we're fickle. Like, we love it some days, we don't love it some days. But when we're not having to, if you're going into an office every day or a workspace every day, it's easy to kind of change how you feel about it on a daily basis. And then, is there someone trying to get in? Hi. I hear Daddy calling you. Yeah, I hear him. You might want to go find him. Co-parenting. So anyway, I asked everybody yesterday on if you're kind of doing this live with us, if you're following the Wellness Challenge in April. I asked everybody yesterday kind of how they felt about their job. And I had a little slidey. And I promised I wouldn't call anybody out, so I'm not even going to put up exactly what the average answer was. But I would say most people slid it about 3/4 of the way up, which is really cool. A couple people slid it all the way up, and a couple people stopped before halfway. So the cool thing that I saw of the people that slid it all the way up, a lot of those people were entrepreneurs. And if you don't know much about kind of what's happening and where the shift is right now in our in the US at least, and our economy and how things are going, there's statistics that tell you exactly, and I'm not going to try to quote them because I'd be making them up completely, that tell you how many people in 10 years are going to be either running their own business or having their own business aside from their full-time job. And the numbers are staggering. The numbers are shocking, and it's totally different. So people are moving away from the traditional workforce into more of an entrepreneurial mindset. We can thank technology for a lot of that. We really can. But that's not what I'm here to do today, is to tell you all the statistics about how happy are you at your job. What I'm doing in this whole month, and really you don't have to be following this month because I'm talking about it all the time, but I'm trying to shed some light right here on Instagram in April of 2019. I don't know when you're catching this, that's why I say all that stuff, about onto what it really takes to be well. And there's, in my viewpoint and a lot of other people's viewpoints, there's 8 different components that are integral to wellness and things that you have to consider when you're looking at being healthy. Because, we think of health as okay, I'm sick or I'm not sick. But really, there's a lot more that goes into it. And if you've ever had some kind of, especially when it's a stress-related or anxiety-related disorder, or illness, you know that it's not just about eating right and exercising. There's a lot more that goes into it. And one of the components of wellness is occupational wellness. It's not only how where you work and when you work, but how are you spending your time? Because even entrepreneurs can get sucked into the negative aspects of occupational wellness. I know right now, if you see my calendar, that's my schedule. April's crazy because I have a lot happening in May. Now, May, it goes down a little bit because honestly, when you're planning for something, if you've been in this realm before, that's when a lot of stuff happens, is in this planning. But if you're not having to plan, and you're just kind of maintaining what you've created, in some ways, that's less work. So April's crazy, and I'm really having to work on my occupational wellness. So here are the 4 things that I ask myself when I sit back to evaluate how I want to spend my time. Whether it's deciding if I want to stay in a job, or if I want to continue with a hobby, or if I want to continue in a group or organization, whatever it is. Oh no, okay. Come here, baby. Come on in. All right, well, to be continued. Oh my word. If you've been following this live video, it has been chaos. You would think like working from home when two parents are here would be easier. Turns out that's not the case at all. So I'm back, and I'm back for actually the third time. There's like an invisible second time that I think some people saw that did not go so well. So, if you're catching this live, my apologies. If you're catching it recorded, you just saw my child probably crash and burn on the gate we have to keep the cats and dogs separated. Not that they don't like each other, they just eat each other's food / the dogs like the litter box. Too much information. And yeah, so that was fixed and we're back. We're good. So we're talking about the 4 things that you need to ask yourself when you're kind of going through your list of occupations or hobbies or whatever it is. So every now and then it's kind of good to go through and look at how you're spending your time. And this is all has to do with wellness and how this is feeding you mentally, emotionally, spiritually, mind, body, spirit. The first thing is, and this is kind of the baseline, if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Like if you don't know what that is, Google it. But the first thing that our body really needs is shelter and food and shelter. So the first thing we can ask ourselves is, are our needs being provided for, right? Are our needs being provided for? So if sometimes we have to take these jobs that aren't perfect, they're not the best job in the world, but it's something that we can do and we can stay at in order to provide for our needs. So sometimes like just that little checkbox keeps the hobby or the occupation on the list. The second thing is, what is your work environment like? When you're working, are you comfortable, if not happy? How is your environment? Is it supportive or is it toxic? Like what are the people like that you're working with or participating with? And this is a good thing, like actually both the first and the second one, if there is a volunteer opportunity that is not something that you're enjoying or you like or you have fun when you're there, then maybe that gets cut because clearly it's not providing for your needs because it's volunteer and it's not a good environment. So that's a good thing to look at first. Those are a good first 2 things. And yet sometimes it's really hard to eliminate some of these things, but once you do, and you just, I think I saw something from Mel Robbins the other day who said, no is a complete sentence. So you really can get out of a lot of that just by saying, no, I can't do it anymore. And then here's the third one. So now we're getting into a little bit deeper, like it's answering the first 2, but there's still something sitting unsettling. You're not sure if it needs to stay in your life. So then you ask yourself, do you feel like it's making a difference? Like for other people. So if you are doing something and you're like, man, I just feel like it's really all about the company or all about me or all about this and it's not sitting right, then figure out either how to shift it into something that's making a difference for other people, or maybe it needs to be eliminated, right? And the fourth thing, this is a big one, is there's always room for improvement, whether that's professional development or expanding the business or whatever, but there's always room for growth. Because if we get stagnant, we stall out, right? We stop learning, we stop growing. We need to be in a place that is always having us learn and grow and get better. Maybe it's getting promoted, maybe whatever it is, but there's always room for improvement. That's a huge one. And that was really important to me at every job I've ever had. That's been huge for me. I always one of the first things I would ask is, what is the funding like for professional development? Because I love to learn. I love being a student. And so that was big for me. So I hope these 4 things are helpful. Remember, if you are catching this live in April, we are doing a free week, this last full week of April, of health and fitness. You're going to get diet tips and exercises and workouts with me, all that kind of stuff. And you can get it by the link in my Instagram bio. If you're on Facebook, also, it's just a group. You can find me and check out some of my posts. I posted about it recently. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it shed some light on how occupational wellness can impact your overall health.